In this video, we're going to be reviewing Edding's brand new glitter brush pens and bullet tips. I'm so excited. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I've got such an exciting pen review for you guys today. I literally received these in the post yesterday, and I knew that I just needed to do a whole YouTube video. This is actually going to be at first impressions as well. I haven't used them at all. You'll see that I have shared a couple of posts on my Instagram by the time this has gone live, but I am filming this before I'm creating any of these posts, so it is literally my first impressions, my review, everything. The pens that we're reviewing are these Edding pens. So these are their new glitter range of pens. That's right, glitter brush pens and also glitter bullet tip pens as well. I don't think I've ever used like a glitter brush pen. I've definitely used glitter gel tips before, but not a brush pen. You can get like metallic brush pens that have a really lovely shine, but like actually having glittery pieces in it, that's got me quite excited. Before we jump into the video, just for full transparency, I have kindly been sent these pens from the lovely team at Edding. They sent me a really lovely PR parcel that had all of these pens in. However, I haven't been paid to create this YouTube video. They just sent these pens for me to have a play and have a try. And of course, all my thoughts and opinions will be completely honest. Even if this was a paid video, it would still be honest. But yeah, just full transparency, these are gifted, but not a sponsored video. I also don't know if these are actually available yet. As I said, they got sent to me by Edding, and it said in the PR parcel that I was one of 10 people to receive these. So if they are available, I'll leave a link in the description below. And if they're not available quite yet, I'll try to remember to leave a link in the description for them when they do become available. So these are the lovely new Edding glitter pens. So they sent me a few different packs, and we're going to be testing all the pens in this video. When I do a pen review, I really like to cover various aspects of the pen so you know exactly whether it's the right pen for you or not. So for this video, we're going to be covering what the packaging is like. So the packet actually comes in and the pen itself, what the nib is like, what it's like to write with or do calligraphy with. We're of course going to do a swatch test. And then my favourite thing to do is blending. I always like to see how easily pens blend together, and I have no idea how these are going to work. Most brush pens are water-based, and that means they're easy to blend, but I don't know if the glitter in this will prevent that. So that's going to be really interesting to try out. Okay, so just looking at the back here, they are water-based, so that means they should blend. So if we can do blended glittery calligraphy, that's going to be so cool. Okay, so the pen packs I have been sent through. Firstly, this beautiful pastel pack. These have a bullet tip, and we've got yellow, mint, lilac, and pink. These are the same, so they're also a bullet tip. They're 3mm bullet tip, and we've got 5 colours here, including a black. And then we've got 2 packs that are brush pens. So this one has pretty much all your base kind of primary colours you'd expect in a pen pack. I'm pretty sure, yeah, on the back it says it's got a transparent glitter pen included. So I'm very intrigued by that. Oh, also it says here to store nib down. That's really interesting. I don't think I've ever stored any of my pens like that before. So I'll definitely bear that in mind. I wonder if it's okay to store them flat, but just not like upright. And then this is a really lovely colour palette. So you've got yellow, pink, purple and blue. So these are the brush pens, these are the bullet tips. So firstly, let's chat about the packaging. I love that it's come in all cardboard packaging. It means that I can recycle it easily. Also, the packaging fits the amount of pens. It's so frustrating when you get a set of pens, but like the box is bigger and the pens are like individually stored. For me personally, I like to put my pens into clear drawers for storage. I don't know how I'm going to store these though, because it does say to store them nib down. I'll have a chat with the team and see whether they can be stored horizontally as well. So yeah, that's a massive thumbs up to me that it's in recycled packaging. Just to note, some of them do have these little circles in. That's not part of the packaging. That was just from the parcel they sent over. It had lots of confetti in. Okay, so if we open up this one, it is sealed with a sticker. So let's just peel that off. So I'm just going to grab out one pen so we can see what it looks like. I've just gone for the brush pens. So the pen itself very much looks like their standard brush pens, which makes sense because it's part of the Edding 134 range. So I guess this is an expansion on their brush pens. So that would be quite interesting to try blending glitter ones with the standard brush pens, or kind of adding glitter highlights on top. I'm not going to do that in this video, we're just going to focus on these pens, but keep an eye out for like a YouTube short or an Instagram reel, because I might give that a go. So the main difference between these and the standard 1340 brush pen is, firstly, it says glitter here, so that makes it nice and clear. And then the lid itself is sparkly. Look how pretty that is. I love the fact that the colour of the pen is on the lid. And oh yes, it's also got it on this end too, which makes sense because you actually do need to store them this way down. I guess my only thinking is that that's not very obvious what the colour is compared to the lid. So if you are storing them up like this, it might not be obvious which colour is which. So similar to the 1340 brush pens, it's quite a thin barrel, but the pen is quite long in itself. Hopefully that means that there's lots of lovely ink in it. Let's just see if the lid sits on. Yes. It always annoys me when you can't put a lid on the end of the pen, or if like just falls off. Okay, so we've also got that glitter detail just above the nib as well. I don't know if you can see on camera, but the nib is kind of sparkly. I'm so excited to try that out. Because it's quite long, it's quite comfy to hold. So, I mean, I always love the Edding brush pens. I think they're really easy to hold and use. So I'm pretty happy with this. And that actually slides on really nicely. I like how far that goes down. And then it just clicks in. Okay, let's get out one of the bullet tips just so we can see if there's a difference. That is one downside of their pens, is they like to roll. We'll just lean it there. Okay, so these are part of the 1200 pens. So they are the 3mm bullet tips. And one big difference you can see is the shape of the lid. Hang on, let me get a different colour pen because pink on pink is hard to see. So hopefully you can see that the lid on the 1200 pen has an angle to it, whereas it's just flat on top on this. So that's a little different. So just to make it really easy to see which pen is brush and which pen is glitter. The downside is if you're storing them nib side up, you aren't going to be able to. You probably want to store them in separate pots. Again, we've got the sparkly colour on the lid, and that extends to the nib too. And oh my god, I don't know how easily you can see that, but that nib is so pretty. I can't wait to try them out. Okay, let's get some paper and give them a test. So I'm just using my trusty Rhodia pad for this. I know it's super smooth and it works for the majority of brush pens, so I just wanted to give it a go. Before we dive into a full swatch test, I just want to see what the nib is like, how easy it is to write with. We've obviously got bullet tips in this pen review video as well as brush tips, so we are going to try out both. But I'm starting with the brush tip because I'm just so excited. So in terms of the nib size, I'd say these are about a medium brush tip. Just thinking about when I've used their standard colour brush pens before, they aren't too flexible, so even though they're a little bit bigger than some smaller brush pens, they're still pretty good for beginners to use. So let's see what this is like. Oh, wow. Okay, it's actually quite flexible from what I remember, but it is quite easy to control. And you can see you can really do some contrasting thick and thin lines with this pen. And of course you don't have to press as hard. I'm just doing some warm-up drills, partly because I haven't done any calligraphy today, and also it's just my go-to when I have a new pen that I'm trying out. Okay, that is beautiful. So it looks like the sparkles were quite concentrated in the first strokes, and then not as sparkly later on, but I think that's probably just where the nib has been a bit saturated. So I'm guessing the sparkles are more standard here. It's going to be so hard to show you this, but it's super beautiful. Okay, so can you see we've got really lovely sparkle here, and there are some pretty sparkles down here too. It's just so hard to get that on camera. The nib is pretty flexible, but it feels quite durable as well, so it is bouncing back. It may not be the best pen for a beginner to use straight away. However, there aren't many pens out there that are glittery like this. So if you want a glitter brush pen and you're just starting out, then this is probably going to have to be your go-to. Okay, before we start doing any more calligraphy, I just want to see what the nib on this pen is like. Let's go for this lovely pink colour. I'm just going to do some basic drills again. Obviously, we're not going to have the thick and thin strokes. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. So it's quite a chunky bullet tip, which I personally really like. I'm not a fan of like finer tips. I do use fine liners for like detail, but if I'm doing like calligraphy or lettering, I quite like a chunky tip like this. I really hope you can see the glitter a bit better now, because that is beautiful. I'm just going to change the lighting so you can see it. Okay, so the lighting's a bit wild now, but just because I've got some photo lights set up, I kind of make it quite flat lighting, which isn't the best for showing off glitter, but hopefully you can see now. That shine is beautiful, especially on this pink. That is so pretty. Oh, it's so lovely on this colour here as well. Oh my gosh. Okay, I've just put the lighting back to normal just so it's not so crazy when I'm doing any swatch tests or anything. But every so often I will show you what the glitter looks like. So what I've just noticed that's really interesting is the pens are actually stored upside down in a pack. So I guess when they're like in a stationery shop and they're hanging up, they're being stored nib down. So it is probably recommended that you do store them that way around. I just got this, oh, we got confetti everywhere. I just got this lilac colour out because I think that might be a little bit easier to show off the glitter. And I'm just going to do a couple of warm-up words, write with it, see what it's like, and then we'll move on to a swatch test. So of course, writing my favourite word, which is minimum. Ooh. Yeah, so can you see? It deposits a lot of the shine straight away. So I wonder if that's why you need to store them nib down, so it kind of like refills the nib with the glitter and it helps the glitter get through the tip. I feel like the ink is changing colour slightly. Like it starts off quite light and then as it dries it gets darker and becomes more like the true colour that's represented. So this feels quite pink and then it's going purpley. That is so pretty. And actually I feel like the glitter is a little bit more consistent on this colour. So it's definitely deposited. It kind of adds like a glittery highlight where you add pressure on the pen. It is so pretty. So what I do love about this is it's quite opaque. You can't really see the joins too much. Sometimes you'll have brush pens where they're quite faint and you can see the joins where you've done in each individual stroke, but this doesn't feel like that too much at all. It's really smooth to write with and hopefully you can see some of that glitter. Okay, let's write the word glitter. I'm gonna have to. Also, I haven't twisted the pen. I wonder if that helps get a bit more glitter on it. So because the nib is quite big and quite flexible, you do need to write quite big for this. if you want to do really small writing, it's probably not the best pen for that. You can, of course, just press a little bit lighter, but because it is quite flexible, it's quite hard to do that. And I also feel like it's not depositing as much of the glitter when you're not pressing as hard. You can see the glitter's coming out much better when there's more pressure applied on those down strokes. Let's have a go writing with one of the bullet tips. So I'm just going to use like a darker colour. Might even try the black actually, just to see how the sparkle shines with that. So this is the black bullet tip. It's so smooth to write with. I love much chunkier pens like this. I think it just creates a really cool effect. I'll be honest with you, I can't see any glitter on this, but it could just be the lighting. Oh no, yeah, I can. Okay, that's really subtle, but it's super pretty. I don't think it helps that I've got really flat lighting in here, guys. Let's just get the lights back down again. So can you see the glitter now? So you can see it's creating like glittery highlights on these downstrokes, which looks so pretty. I do feel like the glitter shows up better on the lighter colours. You can see on this pink, it's really lovely and shiny. On this black, it's so much more subtle. It's quite hard to capture that on camera. I might need to do a couple of shots in like full daylight for you to really get that full effect, because it's so hard to get that with the studio lights that I'm using. But it is so pretty. So overall, I'd say that the brush pen is more suited to someone who is feeling a little bit more confident with their calligraphy. They're happier to write slightly larger. Because the nib is quite flexible, it does take a little bit more control. Of course, you could use the bullet tip and actually do faux calligraphy. So that is another way of kind of introducing these glittery colours into your calligraphy. Okay, let's do a swatch test. How are we going to do this? We'll do a swatch test of the bullets first, because we don't have as many of those, and then I'll do a swatch test of the brush pens. So for these pens, they don't actually have colour names. They've just got a tiny number here. So this black, for example, is 641. Instead of doing the colour code, I am just going to write what colour this is. So this is black. So what I'll do is write the word black, and then I'll do a little scribble on paper. It does say on the back of the pens that it's best for light coloured paper. So we're not going to test out on dark paper today, because they have made it clear already that it's not suitable. Okay, so these are the colours for the bullet. I don't know if these are all the glitter colours for the bullets or if there are some more out there, but these are the ones that I've been sent. And you can see straight away that the glitter shows so much better on the lighter colours. Look at the beautiful shine. Like, this lilac is stunning, and so is this mint colour as well. So you can see that it's got a beautiful glitter shine. Let's just change the lighting up. Hopefully you can see that a little bit better on these darker colours. It's got a beautiful shine on the green and the blue. Oh, there you go. That is so pretty. I'll also show you what this looks like in daylight, so you can see it in slightly more natural lighting. Look how beautiful these colours are though. Like, these three are my favourites so far. The black, it's so hard to show you that glitter. And the yellow is quite hard to see too. One thing I will say is where I kind of went back over with the pen for each stroke, it was kind of catching on the paper a little bit. I think the ink is quite saturated, so it is kind of picking up this paper a tiny bit. Also, with the black, I don't know if you can see, but there's tiny splatters around it when I did this first little bit of scribble, but it hasn't done it on any of the other colours, so I don't know if I just accidentally pressed a little bit too hard. Oh, you can see the glitter there now. Can you see the glitter on the black? That is so pretty. So these are all the colours. This is the primary colours, and then we've got this pastel selection. I've called this orange. I think it is more of a yellow, but I'd already written yellow, so it's kind of like a, it's almost like a goldy colour in a way, but quite a yellowy gold. So we're going to swatch the brush pens now. I've just had a little look, and the blue and purple in this pack are the same as the blue and purple in this pack. However, the pink's not in here, and this yellow colour is different. I think that must be similar to the orange and the yellow colour for the bullet tip. So I'm going to swatch all of these, and then also this yellow and the pink. What I'm really intrigued by is that it says that there's a transparent glitter pen included, and I think that's what this is. And I assume it means you can add more glitter, which I like the sound of. That might be really good for like the darker colours. Okay, so these are all of the swatches. That pink is so much more luminous than the other pink. So I thought it'd be pretty similar to this. It's like neon, it's so pretty. And then this definitely feels a little bit more goldy. It's quite a yellow gold, but you can see the shine on these two so beautifully. Now I haven't used this transparent pen yet. I just wanted to see what these colours look like first before we start playing with it. Let's get the light shining on so you can see exactly how they look. So you can see the shine in the lighter colours so much better. The black is, oh, that is actually so pretty. I'll also include some daylight shots of this, but you can really see the shine in these swatches here. This light blue is beautiful, and that purple is so pretty as well. Can you see it with the shine? That's lovely. I do really like this teal colour. It's not showing the glitter up as much as the lighter colours, but I wonder if you can add more glitter with the transparent pen, or whether the transparent pen is like a blending pen. I'm very intrigued. I think my favourites have to be this pink and the gold, just because the glitter shine on them is so beautiful. But also I feel like this pink and this light blue go really nicely together. In terms of the whole colour palette, I love the fact that all the colours are really different. It really frustrates me when you get a packet of pens and you end up getting like 3 blues that don't look really any different to each other. I'd rather less pens with more variation, exactly like this. I do feel like the purple is quite a pinky purple. I feel like there could have been a bit more of a purpley purple in there, but I love the difference between the yellows, orange and red. It's really clear, and this teal colour compared to the green is nice too. Normally you get like a light green and a dark green, but actually I like the fact that instead of a dark green they've gone for this tealy colour, because it just adds another element. And then this gold is beautiful. I wonder why they haven't done like a grey version that creates the silver effect. But let's give this transparent pen a go. I'm just going to scribble here. I don't think you're going to see anything, and I'm just going to write the word clear. I mean, I can barely see that myself, so it's definitely transparent, but it's got a lovely glitter to it. So I'm not sure if this is meant for like adding more glitter on top, so let's give that a go. Just going to add some of this on top of some of the letters. It is picking up the paper, I think, just where the ink is quite juicy. So actually it's creating like a really lovely shadow effect, and this might be worth using when it comes to blending. Whether it's adding more sparkle, I'm not 100%. So it is picking up some of the ink when I go over the top. I've just got some scrap paper to the side to get rid of any excess ink. So I wonder if the clear one is more for adding glitter on top of pens that aren't glittery, so you can add that detail on. It would be a really cool way to add highlight to your letters. So I've just torn away this paper to test out a standard Edding brush pen and add the glitter on top. And you can see that the ink has gone through. So this is particularly where I've used that transparent ink. It seems to have transferred through. So that is worth noting, that the ink is coming through the paper. It's quite a saturated ink, I'm guessing because of the glitter. So that is worth noting. If you are using things like bullet journals and stuff, it might be worth testing to make sure that it doesn't seep through the paper. I'd really recommend using something like Bristol board for these inks. Okay, so let's just try this out. I've got this brush pen here, and it's kind of like a corally colour. So let's write the word glitter. Writing with this and comparing it to the glitter ones, this definitely isn't as flexible as the glitter ones. So I definitely would say the glitter nibs are more flexible, even though it's the same brush pen. That could just be how they've had to develop the nib to ensure the glitter flows out of it. But that's potentially why at the beginning of this video I was like, oh, it's quite a medium-sized brush pen, but it's not too flexible. And then I found it quite flexible. I was thinking of these pens, which I have used quite recently, and you can see that they're the same number, so they're 1340, and it isn't as flexible, so that's just something to note. So if I just go in with this glitter pen, I'm just going to add like a highlight to some of the letters. I'm going to go over all of the letter on a few of them as well. So it's quite a liquidy, transparent pen. You can see that the ink is actually bleeding a little bit where I've gone over quite a lot. But adding like a small amount of glitter highlight looks like it could be really pretty. So can you see it's added like a really lovely glitter highlight? I wouldn't recommend going over the letter completely because it seems to have bled the ink out a little bit. But if you've got some of the Edding brush pens that don't have glitter in and you just want to add a tiny bit of sparkle, this is a really lovely way of doing it. I love that little bit of highlight just on the I and the L there. That's so pretty. It's super subtle. I reckon that's probably bled through the page as well. Let's have a little look. Yeah, so you can see it's really saturated. And I think that's just because the ink is super juicy. So what I'm going to do now is test out the pens for blending. I think the brush pens are going to be better for blending compared to the bullet tips, just because of the thicker tip. And the ink just feels a little bit more juicy, which is what we need for blending. For the blending, I'm actually going to use some watercolour paper because these pens are super juicy. And I also found that it was like balling the paper a little bit. I think watercolour paper will be best. I'm using smooth watercolour paper, so it's not likely to fray the nib at all. So I do want to test out blending with this transparent pen, but let's just blend a couple of colours together. I think what makes sense first is to start with the two blues because they are the same colour but different shades. So we'll give that a go. The word, we're going to write mermaid because it's my go-to. Okay, so that's really interesting. On this watercolour paper, it's kind of seeping the colour in quite a lot. And it doesn't look as glittery. Oh no, it is super glittery. It's just the light. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this blue to the tops of the letters. Not too much because this is such saturated ink. I don't want it to bleed. I should probably have just worked on one letter at a time, but let's see how that goes. So then I'm going to go in with this lighter colour and just go over where the dark is. Okay, that is blending really nicely actually. I was not expecting that with a glitter pen. I don't know why, in my head I kind of felt like they'd be kind of like the alcohol based pens, which you can blend with, but I've just never found it that easy to blend with. So what I will say is you can really see the stroke I've made with the dark blue. I think just where the concentration of glitter has built up. So I'm just going to feather that out a little bit more. Okay, adding a second layer of ink makes the glitter so much more glittery. I guess that's why you have the transparent pen, so you can add that if you want. Right, I'm just going to fast forward this bit. I'm going to get this whole word done and then we're going to get the light on it so you can see this glitter, because that is actually beautiful. Okay, that is stunning. It's so hard to tell if you can pick it up on camera or not. You can see it a little bit. Oh, again, I'll show you what it looks like in daylight too, but from my angle, that is so pretty. One thing I will say in terms of the blending is further down, it actually blended out a bit better, but on some of them you can see where the strokes are. I could probably blend that out a little bit further if I just went over the top more. So if I just go over here and just go in and out with the two different pens. Yeah, so you can get rid of that harsh line, but that is beautiful. So yeah, you can see that I've managed to get rid of the more harsh line. I will note, just to note, when you do go over with the blending, it does darken up the lighter colour too, but that's pretty standard when it comes to blending with brush pens. So that's worked really nicely. Okay, let's try some tip to tip blending. So this is where I'm going to colour in the lighter tip with the darker tip. I'm hoping this won't ruin the pen. I've done this plenty of time with brush pen before, and as long as they're water-based, which they are, then it should be fine. So I just don't know how it's going to react with the glitter, but let's just give this a go. So I'm just adding this teal colour to the purple colour. And then let's just write the word hello. Oh. Oh my God. I don't know if you're seeing that on camera, but that's just made the glitter like 10 times better for the teal. And look at that duo colour. Oh my God. Can you see the shine on that? You definitely can for that. That is so pretty. I am obsessed. That is just so gorgeous. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, so tip to tip blending worked really well, and actually the colour stayed on the pen. Sometimes when I do this, after one letter, I'm having to keep adding colour on. That's just worked so nicely though. I just want to make sure that I can get the excess colour off. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So it just works like normal blending. But it's shiny, it's glittery. I love it. Okay, so now I'm going to try out the blending pen. There's a couple of things that I'm going to do. Firstly, I'm just going to do a letter A with this yellow, and then we're going to do a letter B with this orange. And I'm just going to go in to where that join is with the transparent pen and see if I can blend it. So it is blending it a little bit. It doesn't feel like the blending pens you get in other pen sets though. It doesn't feel like that's what it's designed for. I feel like that's going to blend so much better if I actually use colour. Okay, you can see that this has become really saturated now, where I've been adding all of that transparent colour. So this transparent pen can't be used for blending in this way. So there is another way I want to try it out. And that is doing nib to nib blending, but with a couple of different colours. So we're going to take this purple, pink and blue, and I'm just going to add a little bit of each colour to the nib. So I'm just going to add the pink there. I'll then twist it so we're getting a bit of blue on the nib. And I'm expecting this to kind of make it a little bit more pastel-y, because it will react with the clear ink, so it dilutes the other inks. So let's just write unicorn. Oh, okay. Okay. I think this is what this pen can be used for. Look at that. That is so pretty. I feel like when you mix multiple colours, that's when the glitter really comes out. So can you see that the glitter really comes out and accentuates where there's multiple colours, just like the purple colour and the teal. And also where the ink's starting to run out on this transparent paper, it's gone into more of pastel colours, which is so pretty. I'm actually really excited how creative you can get with this. Just to show you a close-up of this, you can see it has blended a little bit, but I feel like that's not what this pen is for. This pen is for creating really cool effects like this. Like, I am in love. That is stunning. Hopefully you can see some of the shine there too. I'll insert a clip of all of this in daylight right now so you can see what it looks like, because I feel like you're not getting the full effect on camera. I'm gonna say that a million times, but for me, this is absolutely stunning, and I just want to make sure that you can see it as well. These pens are so beautiful. Okay, I've had a really good play with these pens now, and I am shook. Like, the glitter is so pretty. It's definitely a lot easier to see the glitter in certain lighting. So natural light is the best way to see it, basically. Not with bright photo lights like I'm using. Makes everything a little bit flat. The glitter definitely shows up way more on the lighter colours, but to be honest, I'm a pastel girl at heart. You can tell with what I'm wearing right now. I love pastel colours, so those are probably the colours I'll use a lot more anyway. That clear transparent pen, I wasn't sure what I should be doing with it at first. I wasn't sure if it was like a standard blending pen, but actually using it to add multiple colours to it and create a really cool kind of ombre effect, I just love. So let's give a little rating in terms of packaging, nib, how it writes, the swatch test, and also blending. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 for the packaging that the pens come in. They are cardboard, which means it's super easy to recycle. It's also not got an excessive amount of packaging. One thing I noticed is the pens need to be stored tip down, and how they are in the packet, they are stored tip down when they're like hooked up. But most people at home won't have a way of like hooking cardboard like packs like that. So I guess it would be nice to have something that you can store the pens in the right way up. I think you need to store the pens upside down just so the glitter flows better out of it. And you can see that it's quite saturated at first. So I think that's just the best way to do it. So I'm going to have to get some sort of pot to store them all upside down. The pen itself, I really like the Edding pens in general. They are a bit narrower compared to some other brush pens, but because they're quite long, the balance feels nice, and I love the fact that you can put the lid on top of the pen. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 as well. Actually, I'm going to give it an 8.5. The thing that I don't necessarily like, two things. Firstly, the colours are just numbers, which is fine, and actually that's really good if there's loads and loads of colours and there might be two shades that are similar and you just want to make sure they're different. But I personally like a colour name. Like, I like the names of colours that you can get in pens. And then secondly, when they are upside down, there is a tiny bit that shows what colour the pen is, but it's not very obvious. And also, it's not obvious whether it's a bullet tip or a brush tip when they're upside down. So if you're mixing them all in one pot, then you aren't going to know. So that's something that is a little bit of a downside with the package. It would be great if it was a little bit clearer, which is bullet and which is brush, and just have it even more obvious what colour each pen is, especially some of them, like there were the two yellows, so like the goldy yellow and the normal yellow, that are quite similar, so it's quite hard to tell. Okay, if we chat about the nib, so the nib is a medium-sized nib. It's the same size as their standard 1340 brush pens. However, it is more flexible. I don't know if that's just how the ink reacts to the fibres or whether they've had to use a slightly different material so the glitter can come through. But it is more flexible than the standard 1340 brush pens. So I'd say that makes it a little bit harder for beginners. So in terms of a beginner-based nib, I'd say it's more like a 6. If it was 10 out of 10, it would be super easy for a beginner to use. So it's just a little bit harder. But that's not to say that the nib is a 6 out of 10 in terms of quality. The quality of it is really lovely. It's super smooth to write with. And although it is quite flexible, it does feel like it bounces back quite a lot too. That kind of leads on to doing calligraphy with it. So you can get really lovely, smooth lines with it. I like how opaque the colours are. Even the pastel colours, you couldn't really see an overlap on the different strokes. I will say if you start layering up the colour a bit too much, it does pick the paper up. I think that's just because the ink is quite saturated, but I just bear in mind the kind of paper that you're using with it. In terms of doing just your standard calligraphy with it, I give it like an 8 out of 10. That kind of covers the bullet tips and the brush pen. So I did find with the bullet tips, when I was overlapping the colour, it really was picking up the paper quite a lot. So I'd say the bullet tips are probably not best for faux calligraphy, because if you have to keep going over where the thick lines are, I don't think it's going to work that well. However, you don't need to do faux calligraphy when you've got a brush pen. In terms of the colours I have are absolutely beautiful. I love the differences between them. So although I haven't got a vast colour range, I'd actually rather a smaller amount of colours but a huge difference between the colours. So for the colours that I do have, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I love that they're all bright and colourful. We didn't have any browns in there. We didn't have any like dull colours. The pastel colours were like, yes, I love them, especially with how glittery they were. Blendability. At first, I was not convinced on the blending, I have to say. I think because of how the ink is reacting with the paper and the build-up and with all the glitter, it is quite tricky. I wouldn't say they are the easiest pens to work with in terms of blending. They don't easily bleed into each other, and that's potentially the formula of the ink with the glitter. But that transparent pen and adding ink to it was just incredible, and also just tip to tip blending. So I think that's the best way to go forward with these pens, is the tip to tip blending. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for blending, which sounds really low. It's a really tricky one because that tip to tip blending was incredible. It was like a 10 out of 10, Absolutely loved it. I loved the duotone effect it created. However, it didn't necessarily blend the colours. It just kind of had one colour and another colour. But when you use the transparent pen, that actually really blended them out a lot more nicely. But when it comes to blending on paper or doing like shadow blending, it didn't work as well. It wasn't its strongest. But I guess at the end of the day, this pen isn't there for blending, it's for glitter. But if you do want to blend these pens, then I would say just do tip-to-tip blending and you'll get a 10 out of 10 blend for that. Overall, I'm going to give these pens... I think if I look at them as like standard pens, I'm going to give these pens an 8.5 out of 10. Just because the blending wasn't as good, I pulled it down a bit. But I kind of want to actually give it a 9 out of 10 because it's a glitter brush pen. And as I said, I haven't come across brush pens like this before. I've only seen metallic ones and not glittery ones. I do feel like some of the glitter could come out better on the darker colours. And what would be really cool if it was like duotone glitter. So if it was like a black, but the glitter was a blue or a purple. So it kind of had that contrast. I feel like the glitter particles within each inks are like either clear or kind of matching the colour of the ink, if that makes sense. Whereas if there was that contrast, it might make it a little bit more obvious. As a calligraphy pen that is something a little bit different, something that you can have a play with, then I really recommend it. I'm really excited to experiment more with it. And to be honest, by the time this video has gone live on YouTube, I may have shared a few other social posts with it. So be sure to head over to my Instagram to see what else I've created with these pens. My Instagram is just Blink Lettering, so super easy to find. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments which colour was your favourite. And also if there's any particular pens you'd like me to do some blending with that transparent pen, then let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon. Bye!